Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 126 of the longest tenured Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast in the world. Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and before we begin, please let me remind you to like the video on YouTube, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the DNVR Sports YouTube channel and DNVR Nuggets podcast channel. The audio version is perfect for your commute or to make your office/home office time more bearable. If you want to support the show more directly, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCUK, just like my Seco tier supporters Peter Plummer and Daniel Lynch. It's been 5 days since we've talked last time. Happy New Year. 2 days ago, it was Serbian New Year, so this is why the New Year's tree is still out there. So we are only now due to have Sveti Jovan or St. John on January 20th, and then Sveti Sava or Saint Sava on January 28th. And after that, I promise I'll try to lose some weight. There's no way I can do it early in January. Okay, 5 days ago, so 3 games to recap. Let's do it quickly. First, it was the Mavs game, First Blood. The Nuggets traveled to Dallas to face the Luka-less, Kyrie-less Mavs and got all of their guys back. Jamal was back after missing the second half of the previous game with knee soreness, and Aaron Gordon returned after missing 9 games, recovering from a calf injury. AG started off the bench and was very good in limited minutes. We got a full Jamal Murray experience. He was obviously hobbled, so he was being relentlessly hunted on defense. And then, of course, he was the biggest factor in the Nuggets' big run to start the fourth quarter. Joker had a quiet night, mostly because he was a triple-teamed for most of the game, and his teammates were missing wide-open threes like it was a TikTok challenge. He did finish with 18 rebounds and a somber double, and Russell Westbrook almost matched his production. His energy was once again responsible for the big defensive effort in the second half, and he was also able to split the double teams on Joker with his timely cuts and rim pressure. The star of the game was the bench mob. Peyton Watson was plus 30 in 32 minutes, and Malone decided to close the game with him on the court. Another encouraging moment for him. DJ was excellent and ensured the Nuggets would be plus 13 in 9 Jokić minutes. Great to see. It was the third straight win. Mavs game, First Blood, Part 2. Kyrie came back for this game, but Dallas lost Derek Lively to an ankle injury after just 4 minutes of play. I almost said Blake Lively. And you shouldn't judge me. Blake is not the lady's only name, but I digress. That was not the main story, though. The main story was Jamal Murray absolutely cooking in this game. First, he made his season average of 19 points just in the first quarter. He was playing so well that Michael Malone changed the rotations completely, starting the second quarter without Nikola or Jamal. And even that stint went great because of the Westbrook DeAndre Jordan two-man game. It was a lob after lob, and most of them were made buckets. Not all of them, but who counts? Jamal came back in the second quarter, still on fire. He had a 32-point first half. It was just the 7th 32-point half for the Nuggets since 1996, when points started being tracked by quarters and halves. The last 3 games, it was 3 times it was done by Jokić, but also done by Jamal way back in 2019 versus the Kings. Great stuff, Jamal. It was a great game by the Nuggets wire to wire. They got a 15-point lead at the end of the first quarter and never let go of it. The defense was on point. mandered the Mavericks, and Jamal finished with 45 points. Joker had a modest kind of triple-double, and MPJ was the second leading scorer with 13 points. Joker got fourth quarter off, so what could have you asked for? Finally, the Rockets game, and I'm not going to waste a lot of your time on this one. Jokić was a late scratch. AG didn't play on the second night of a back-to-back calf management, and the rest of the Nuggets played like Keystone Cups. 7 turnovers in the first quarter, 9 more in the following 2. So the Rockets, inspired by the hot shooting of Jalen Green, opened the 20-point lead late in the second quarter and never looked back. Jamal looked good, and CB was almost perfect from the field for 22 points. Other than that, it was a game we all should forget as soon as possible. Okay, that's enough for an intro. Let me bring my guest for today. He is not really a guest on these airwaves, since he has been one of the longest tenured employees of first BSN and then DNVR, probably the best insider for both the Denver Nuggets and Serbian horse racing from beautiful Boulder, but right now from Denver, Colorado. It's Harrison Wind.
What's up, man? Did you go to Boulder when you were out here?
I did, and it was fantastic. Now, I have to be completely honest. We spent something like, I want to say 45 minutes in Boulder, and 43 of those minutes were in the illegal pits. So I did not walk a lot, but yeah, Boulder is really beautiful, at least the part I saw, and I intend on seeing more of it next time I'm around.
There we go. That's all I wanted to hear. You're good now.
So how's your day going?
Day's going well, man. Tough game last night, obviously. Tough post-game show. But, it happens. And sorry I'm late. Traffic was crazy coming in. But I enjoyed listening to your monologue in the last couple games.
No worries about it. Well, at least I tried to be brief on those painful games. Unlike you guys, I don't have to do an hour on a painful so that's kudos to me. Before we begin the actual show, I wanted to ask you something. When we were at the Hippodrome in Sombor, Serbia, and jumped over the closed gate because the local host told us it was probably okay, I saw a look in your eyes as something changed. What happened that night?
What happened that day?
Yeah.
I saw the gates of heaven. That's what was happening. I was jumping over the gates of heaven into the Sombor Hippodrome. No, man, like going to Sombor was the coolest part of that whole trip for me. Because like we had heard so much about it, so much about where Nikola Jokić has grown up, his school, his favorite places to go, the horse track, the horse stable, all that stuff was so mythical in a way because you had heard stories and seen pictures. And then just to see it in real life and be able to like touch it and walk on the dirt at the horse stable and jump the fence into the Hippodrome. It was just like the coolest part for me to see all that stuff that we had heard about for so long, so many years, 8, 9 years, finally come to life and experience it. That was the coolest part of the whole trip for me. So that's probably what you're referring to. Like, I probably had a crazy look in my eye, if we're being honest.
It's true. And it was September 22, right? So basically more than 2 years ago. This is why I feel safe about saying we jumped the fence that day, because the crime is probably too old now for us to be interrogated about it.
We were also told to jump the fence by somebody from his inner circle, I'll say. We were just following instructions.
Not really official instructions, but when in Rome. Okay, let's start with something uplifting, and that's Jamal, who had an amazing game in Dallas 17 days before I would have officially given up on him coming back, because I said I'm giving him until the end of January before I give up. And there he was. And he followed that game with a pretty good one versus Houston, outside of having his hands on his knees a lot on a second night of a back-to-back and hating being guarded by Eamon Thompson and Jeff Green. What needs to happen during the regular season's second half for you to feel comfortable with him as our second best guy for the playoffs?
Man, I mean, obviously, if he has, 5-10 more games like he had the other night in Dallas, yeah, I think you'll feel pretty confident. That's the obvious thing. Like, if he has a bunch more of those games, 30, 40 points, where he's moving well, where he's getting to his spots, where he looks fast and quick, and the lower body isn't bothering him. Like, if he has, I don't know, 5 to 10 more, I feel like you'd feel pretty good. I don't know. I don't know if that's realistic, though. Like, is that going to happen? Maybe, maybe not. So I think there's a scenario where we go into the playoffs not really knowing if, like, Jamal Murray's going to be that guy, and we find it out in the playoffs. That's not settling. Like, that's not comforting. But, I mean, he was moving so well in that game. He was fast. He was quick. He was confident. There was no hesitation in any part of his game. And that's been one of the things I felt like has been like a big standout in Jamal Murray's bad moments this year. The hesitation that's led to weird turnovers and just weird shots that you don't see him taking. I'll put it at 5 to 10 more games like that. I'll feel okay.
I'm beginning to wonder if he's using, he's probably using some sort of medication for his knee. So maybe he just struck the correct combination for the game and it felt great. And then he felt free to move and stuff like that.
He's gone like Advil, Tylenol, ibuprofen, like cycling through all until he finds the right one.
Because in that first Dallas game, he was horrible for the first 3 quarters, and then he was amazing in the fourth.
I know.
So you can see there's like a switch there, which is pretty crazy. I will have to agree with our guy Vote on this part, because I agree that I need to see him averaging 25 points per game for a full month before I'm ready to say, okay, we are there now.
If he did that, we'd be planning the parade. 25 points a game for a month. Like, if he averaged 25 points a game, the rest of this month or in February, we'd be playing the parade.
Yeah, he also has to stay healthy after that stretch. It's just that crazy balance you have to hit with him between the load and load management, I guess, and hopefully we'll get it. Maybe in a couple of weeks we'll be talking about Jamal as what the hell were we talking about for the first half of the season? Of course he's back now, but it's still in the future for now. So on that game in Dallas, Joker became the fastest NBA player in history to record 15,000 points, 7,500 rebounds, and 5,000 assists in just 709 games, which is like 90 games fewer than Larry Bird, who was the quickest before that. So what do you do to remind yourself that we are witnessing history almost every night, so you won't miss something you might never see again after he retires?
That's my resolution for 2025. I'm trying to appreciate every Nuggets win more, and with that, appreciating every Nikola Jokić thing more. Look, man, I will never be the one that people can point at and say, you're not appreciating Nikola Jokić. I feel like we as DNVR Serbian Corner, we are the appreciators. Nobody will ever knock us for that. But it's just so special every night. Whenever I go to a game at Ball Arena, whenever I walk in there and I'm covering a game live, right before I walk in, I say to myself, man, I wonder what Nikola Jokić is going to do tonight. Because, it could just be a 50-point triple-double. It could be a 20-20-20 game. It could be 30-20-10. A perfect triple-double. You just never know. And that, to me, is honestly what keeps me engaged with this team. I don't know if I'm going to cover the Nuggets once Nikola Jokić is not with this team anymore or retires. I don't know if I could cover the NBA, to be honest. It's just not going to be the same. I've already been thinking, is there another player I could really latch onto after Joker is done? I don't know, but it's not going to be the same because you're just not going to have that anticipation before every game. Like, what could happen tonight?
Yeah, it might be like those last 2 seasons of The Office when Michael Scott left and
So
the show
bad.
was still great. No, the show was actually great. The writing was amazing. It's just that there was no magic there anymore. And yeah, it's going to be tough. And yeah, you know what? I stayed with my Kings long after Vlade Divac and Peja Stojkovic left Sacramento. So, I mean, I'm not like full-hearted with them, but I still will check how they're doing. And yeah, hopefully in 20 years, I'll be only, remembering Nikola from 5 years ago because he's going to play for another 15. Hey, who knows? Who knows? Like the money is so crazy in the NBA right now. I don't see anybody retaring unless they have to.
Oh yeah, this is for like 10 years down the road. Is it going to be like, yeah, I mean, Paul Millsap Jr., like, is that who I'm going to be rooting for? I don't know.
That is true. Okay, let's take one short break, and then after that, we'll get to a bit more uncomfortable teams, I think. But it is what it is. We have to go through that. And before that, I need to tell you guys about, where is it? Empire Today. So if you need new flooring, you don't need to look any further. You have so many people who are already enjoying Empire Today floors. Just ask them about their great experience. With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right products for your need, quick and professional installation, and price match guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So there are some copycats companies that are trying to advertise stuff like, lowest prices in the market and stuff like that. That's only because these companies are offering low-quality products that Empire Today would never carry. Empire Today won't promise you the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Their philosophy, Empire Today's, is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. They service their own warranties. If an issue does arise, just call Empire. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details. That's empiretoday.com/DNVR. Okay, we are back. How did I do?
Good. Probably better than Dev or D-Line could do.
Well, that's a low bar, but still, thank you. Okay, so tell me, Harrison, Joker already missed 6 games this season. Now, of course, he missed 3 of those games when his son was born, although that was like a 2-week off for him because the Nuggets had no games planned at all in that period of season because of great planning by the NBA. And he's going to be playing now in the part of season that is much more condensed. He is on a 70-game played pace right now, and only in 2022, 2023, he played fewer than that, 69. Nice. He will be 30 years old within the next month, and I think he needs a reliable second option more than ever. I mean, going forward. Do you agree with that? Or can we just keep this up as we did so far?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, the injuries, it's not like they're piling up, but it's a thing. And I think he's played through a lot more stuff, when it comes to his back, which has bothered him for years, and, his wrist. He's played through a lot more stuff here and there than people know because he just doesn't, he's not one to like say, hey, I'm hurt. So he's not in the injury report, but he's played through so much stuff over the years, and, it's still a thing. I think stuff like the back, the stuff still pops up from time to time. And so, yeah, They definitely need a more reliable backup center as he's entering his 30s. I think the Nuggets know that too. I think they think that too. They thought Dario Saric was going to be that. That's why they got Saric. They thought he was going to be the most reliable backup big of the last couple years. That's why they signed him to the MLE. That's why they that's why they got him. That has obviously not worked out at all. I've almost closed the book on Saric this season. Not completely, because he's had a rough go of it with the injuries and just the time he's gotten. But I think the Nuggets think that too. They just chose the wrong guy, it looks like, in free agency this last season. So I'm with you. Like, that's definitely got to be a priority.
Two things about Saric, and he is my guy. And yeah, at some point I'm going to have to say I'm sorry to the Nuggets Nation for it. But before that, I have two comments on him. First of all, I don't think he's healthy at all. Like, he runs and looks like me while running. Like both his knees hurt while he's running. And
do you think he's not healthy or not in shape, or both?
I think he's not healthy. I think he's hurting when he is running. And he's probably not in shape because he cannot put the extra effort in training because everything hurts. I'm guessing. I don't know. It's just the way he looks to me. Second of all, in this Houston game, I think Michael Malone made a mistake there because he started the game with DJ. Granted, DJ played really well in the previous games, and he was really good at the start of this game. But I think Saric's role here on the Nuggets should be the Joker replacement, him playing with the starters, and then probably let DJ and Russ cook to start the second quarter, something like that. I don't know. He wasn't in good position. We know he cannot play next to Russell Westbrook. Is just they play completely different paces on the court. So yeah, it is a tough look, and I'm not sure Dario is gonna get enough chances to get in real shape and real health to be able to contribute, especially not in the playoffs.
Well, he's had a tough season because he starts the season and the Nuggets have those two terrible games right away. The opener against OKC, and then that game against the Clippers, where that is still some of the worst offense I've ever seen in the Jokić era. I still can't believe it. And then, they kind of panic a little bit and shift around the rotation a bit, and he gets hurt. And then he comes back, and his first game back, they start him against the Celtics. Yeah. That's a tough position to be put in if you're Dario Saric. What were you expecting from him? I mean, granted, the Nuggets ended up playing pretty well in that game, but it's just been a tough year with, the injury for sure and just how the team has gone. He's not as bad as he's looked. There's no way he's as bad as he looked. We watched him last year have great games against Denver. So I'm still holding out a little bit of hope, but like you, I just don't know if it's going to happen.
It's a difficult question for Dario. And you mentioned reliable backup center. If DeAndre, and don't get me wrong, I love DeAndre Jordan. If somebody told me 3 years ago I'm gonna love DeAndre Jordan as deeply as I love him today, I would think he was drunk, because that's crazy. But he really is such a great. I joked at the beginning of the season that he is the highest paid front office guy on the Nuggets, because he's there to help some guys come on the Nuggets. But lo and behold, he's really playing well. I'm happy to see that, but I don't think that's a good plan for next season.
I don't think
going
so
forward, the Nuggets need to figure out a way to play without Joker and try to cut him back to 35 minutes. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Joker can just Will Chamberlain it and play 48 minutes and say, yes, who needs rest? Like I'm gonna take some possessions off on defense and I'll be fine. Who knows? We're gonna have to see that.
Yeah, if he could Will Chamberlain it, I mean, maybe. Who are we to doubt him? But DeAndre Jordan again next year, there's no way, right? And look, he's been great. I mean, he's been great on the court and off in the locker room as a recruiter. He got Bruce Brown here, helped get Russell you can't go into. You got to find a more stable option there for sure.
Yeah. And the second part of it, of course, is a reliable running mate. And I don't think Joker can survive many more seasons waiting for Jamal to start playing in January. Like, we are going to have to get something more from him or from somebody else coming in his place. But that's something we're going to talk actually at the end of this show if we get enough time for it. Okay, one more thing, and it is about DeAndre Jordan. Funny enough, because as I mentioned, even last night his impact was felt. He had like 3 blocks in the first quarter. He was really trying to compete against Houston. Is just, what is that Houston team, man? Like, why did the Nuggets lose so many possessions in the first quarter? That was crazy. Seven turnovers in just one quarter. Was it the amazing defense of Houston, or was it just sloppy play from Jokić-less Nuggets?
So I think the Nuggets were a bit thrown off by Jokić being such a late scratch. I mean, that came out of nowhere. It does seem like the elbow was bothering him a little bit because he warmed up with that arm sleeve. But I mean, nobody probably thought he was going to miss that game, and then he's a late scratch. And so I feel like that definitely kind of shook the Nuggets a little bit. But Houston's a great defensive team. I mean, Brooks, Amen Thompson, like, they got athletes, they got length, they fly around, they're well coached, and they've had a great season. I mean, they're one of the best defenses in the NBA. So I think it was more probably just the Rockets really capitalizing on a non-Jokić Nuggets team and just being able to lock in on like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter and making sure those 2 guys don't beat them. And then, they forced turnovers and got to the start they did, and then it was pretty much over. So I think you got to give a lot of credit to Houston. Like, they turned the Nuggets over. They created havoc. Like, they just took advantage of it.
Yeah. It was a really, really bizarre game for me. And
the game sucked. That game
was
sucked.
A great chance for the Nuggets to gain some ground on the top level of Western Conference standings, and they blew it. And yeah, I think they would play better if they had Joker, but man, those Rockets were swarming them throughout the game. Even though I still think they suck. It's just that, like, they played like 3 levels of intensity higher than them.
I mean, they're a team where you're like, I'm not going to be scared about the Rockets in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They have very little playoff experience on that roster other than, like a Van Vliet, Brooks a little bit. They're young. Jalen Green, like, that's a huge playoff dropper if I've ever seen one. Like, that's a team I think the Nuggets would... There'd be a couple scary moments in a series like that, but I think they'd handle them pretty easily.
Yeah, I wanted to compare them to like Sacramento from 2 years ago, but I don't think that's a good comp. It's probably like Memphis from 3 years ago, something like that. Like a really ambitious team, but they just don't have enough quality to go all the way to the top. By the way, we talked a bit about some players the Nuggets could try to acquire before the trade deadline. One of them is Justin Holiday. Everybody loves Justin. He's in Denver. It's a logical choice for them to sign him if they can free up one roster spot. The other guy we were mentioning is Dennis Smith Jr., and I don't know if you saw this news, but he just signed for Real Madrid in Spain, and that, I think that means he's off the table because Real Madrid is too serious of a team to give him like an out clause for the NBA before the end of the season. So I think he's not in contention anymore. What about the big guy? Would you like to trade for a big guy to shore up the big man rotation or not?
Oh, man. Like, can we really do it again? Can we? I think they might try to. I think they might try to because, I mean, DeAndre Jordan's been very good. Can he hold up for an entire second half of the season playing backup center? Feels like Zeke Najee's done. Saric, I don't know. So I think they might try to. Like everybody's saying they're interested in Chris Boucher. I don't know how real that is, but I think some people at the Nuggets do like him. I like the idea of getting somebody like Larry Nance. That'd be intriguing to me. He's a guy who could play backup center and backup 4. So I think, as crazy as it sounds, because they've tried this so many times, it might be worth it only if you don't really have to give up much. Definitely not giving up like a Peyton Watson, a Christian Braun to get one of these guys. But I think it's worth it because you gotta look to help Joker out here over the second half of the season, and you gotta make sure what happened last year in the playoffs does not happen again, and the Nuggets do not burn out over the second half of the regular season. And the only way to do that is lighten the load on Joker and Jamal Murray.
I agree with you, especially because Aaron Gordon has been hurt for most of this season, and when you have your top 2 big guy options, one hurt and the other one overloaded, you really need to find ways to get themselves help. So I do hope they're gonna try to find somebody, maybe somebody better than Noah Vonleh, I guess, because he didn't get a lot of chance to play. Noah Vonleh.
Oh, what about Hibbert?
Well,
that was a Connolly trade deadline acquisition one year.
I believe they got Hibbert like 12 months after he was an all-star.
Yeah.
And he was already out of the league. Like, this is how quickly the NBA evolved past Roy Hibbert. So, yeah, it was a tough look. Okay, let's take one more short break, and then we'll move into some other guys. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Okay, we are back, and Christian Braun played a good game last night. What was he, like 10 of 11, 11 of 12, something like that from the field. And even that 1-3 almost went in, the one that he missed. But I'm not sure we can use that game for, big assessments, since it was a 20-point loss that was never really close. What would be the key factors for you for sticking with him in the starting lineup when AG is ready to take his place back, as opposed to staying with Russell Westbrook in the lineup?
Man, it's a tough call. I mean, the argument for Christian Braun is, defense and shooting. He's a better shooter than Russell Westbrook and theoretically a better defender. I think Westbrook probably has an argument that he's been a better defender this season than Christian Braun. And, Brown's been up and down with his shooting. He started really hot, cooled off as of late. I would have more faith in Christian Braun shooting a 3 right now than Russell Westbrook, but that's closer than you think it would be. So, I mean, those are the two things. And also his size. And I mean, I really think it comes down to, like, can Jamal Murray be Jamal Murray? If that's the case, I think you have a better reason to move Russell Westbrook back to the bench. If he's not, I mean, the team over the last month or so has been Russell Westbrook and Jokić, that duo. That's been their identity. And that's kind of what it's been morphing into. So a lot of it probably comes down to Jamal for me. Like, that is the pivot point in terms of where you go. These things usually work themselves out. Thank God Aaron Gordon is so selfless that he's cool coming off the bench, because it actually helps the Nuggets out a ton right now in the regular season. It helps the starting lineup stay together, and it helps the bench be better. But it's a tough choice. Like, right now, I would probably stick with Russell Westbrook. Right now, at this very moment, I would stick with Russell Westbrook. That's not to say it could shift back towards Christian Braun, the starting lineup, a couple weeks from now.
I agree with you. Jamal would need to be so much quicker, so much bouncier for Nuggets to be able to afford bringing Christian back into the starting lineup, because Jamal right now really needs Russ's playmaking and ball handling.
And he needs him to bring the ball up the floor.
And it's not a coincidence Jamal is playing so much better since Russ has been
I agree.
introduced into the starting lineup, because he really helps him. And honestly, if you ask me, I think that's the brightest timeline for this season. Like, the 3 of the stars, Joker, Jamal, and Russ, figuring it out all together and trying to be effective in all the minutes they played, each combination of these three guys playing.
The problem with bringing Westbrook off the bench is look, Russell Westbrook's been great individually, but a huge reason why he's been so great is because he's played pretty much all his minutes lately with Nikola Jokić.
Of course.
You bring him off the bench, you're just naturally cutting those minutes down. And then what are you going to do? Like bring him back in the game at the 7-8 minute mark? Yeah, that's already eliminating 4 minutes right there in the first quarter that he's not going to play with Jokić. Some are going to be in the second quarter too. So it just makes it tougher. Like this is a really tough choice for Michael Malone. I'm actually curious to see like how he goes about it.
I mean, if we think about the evolution of Michael Malone, it would feel like there's no way he's taking Russ out of the starting lineup. He is a veteran. Michael Malone loves veterans and their maturity, but then again, he loves Christian Braun so much. So it's really a conundrum for him. So I agree. The only way they can afford taking Russ out of the starting lineup is if Jamal is just able to play by himself a lot better on both sides of the court, honestly, because right now I think Russ helps more on offense than on defense, because obviously Christian is really good on defense. But Russ hasn't been bad there as well. I'm pleasantly surprised how the duo of Russ and Jamal have looked like on defense too. I'm not saying they're like the best defensive duo in the league, but they have been competent and they have been atomic on the offense. So that's probably good enough.
Westbrook has been a menace defensively. I mean, a menace. I mean, I foolishly bought into all these narratives coming out of LA that he didn't try on defense. Yeah. That's my bad. I believed all those guys out there, but but I mean, he's unbelievable defensively. He doesn't stop. Like some of these possessions he has where he's flying around, almost gets a steal 3 times and finally gets it. It's incredible.
He might be taking a bit too many risks on defense, but
Maybe.
You know what? He's really good at those risky plays. Like he had so many steals there. What about Peyton Watson? Would you be willing to try out Peyton Watson as that 5th starter? Because he's been so sublime on defense, and he would definitely help Jamal on the defensive end of the court. But I'm not sure about the ball handling stuff.
Yeah, you lose a lot of ball handling there. But I mean, defensively, yeah, him with Gordon out there, like that's so much length with Porter too. P-Watt's been amazing, especially lately on the defensive end and even on the offensive end too. But like, I think he's got a block now. What is it, in 14 straight games or something like that? And a bunch of those games, he's got 2+ blocks. He's everywhere right now. And he's just playing more. I think the thing with Peyton Watson is he just gets better the more minutes he plays. I don't think it's any surprise that lately he's been, 25+ minutes a game, sometimes 30+ off the bench, and he's playing well in those minutes. Like the more playing time he gets, I just think the better he gets. I would want to see that starting lineup. I don't think that's going to be the answer, but I want to see it, just for a couple minutes here and there. Maybe it's not the start of game. Maybe it's, a first sub one of these games instead of Julian. You bring P-Watt in there at the 2. I just want to see what that looks like because he does have some playmaking in him. He can handle the ball. He can pass. And, his shots, I think it's coming along. It's looked better the last month or so. So I want to see it. I don't know if it's the answer, but I'd be curious to see it.
They're going to need to have him play big minutes against certain opponents in the playoffs. So, yeah, it's better for them to clean up some stuff before the playoffs than to just like experiment in the playoffs, which we actually had last spring. We did have some lineups that played almost no minutes together in the playoffs, which was a pretty bad look. But it is
Braun.
Is. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to go into something really difficult to talk to you about the Nuggets going forward.
Okay.
So we are putting a crystal ball in front of us and trying to figure out what would be the best way for the Nuggets to behave as a front office from 2025-2026 season. But before that, let's just take one more short break. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back. So right now, the Nuggets are a team with 4 big contracts, 4 guaranteed starters. Then Zeke Naji and Dario Saric with not even a mid-level type of contracts. Like Zeke is like at $8 million, Dario at like $4.5 million, $5 million. And then there's a bunch of rookie scale contracts and minimum contracts. We used to laugh at the Phoenix Suns trying to win with 3 max contract guys and Yusuf Nurkic, but even they have more non-minimum contracts than Denver. This will be a moot point if the Nuggets find a way to win it all this season. But what would be your suggestion for the front office about team building going forward if they have like a second in a row underwhelming playoff campaign?
Yeah. I mean, you're probably going to have to look to trade Michael Porter at that point, because if you burn out in the second round, I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious, I feel like, what needs to happen. And I don't know if like trading Jamal Murray is a thing that could even net you like a positive enough return to really think about. Maybe Porter can. So, and I even think that was, back like a month ago or so, 2 months ago, when the Zach LaVine rumors were coming out. I think like, obviously, I think Denver was thinking about that back then. Now they're probably not as much because they've been playing well. But, then you had, to Brooklyn for, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Atlanta, Bogdanovich, DeAndre Hunter. I think the idea of like getting off one of the max contracts and getting back 2 or 3 real players would be enticing, because you're just so much, you're way more maneuverable that way. You have way more flexibility to do stuff, and you're also deeper. And I mean, it definitely does feel like the days of the 3 max contracts on teams are over and are running out. You can keep it together like the Celtics are, like the Nuggets could have, and maybe that would have been the right choice to keep that whole team together, and KCP. And of course, the Nuggets have the 3 guys right now. But I think moving off of one of the maxes, not named Jokić, for 2 or 3 guys, I think that might be the ideal route if they just flame out, in the second round again. The second round exit, yeah, it's gonna have to be blown up. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. So that'd be probably the big move. And then the other stuff, falls into line. If you can trade Zeke Naji, man, I'd drive him to the airport.
I would honestly blow up the team even if they lose in the Western Conference Finals. That's just not good enough for me. With all the money invested in the team, I think they would have to pivot. And a friend of show, Dan Favali, he actually had a bold prediction that the Nuggets might trade 2 of their first night starters after this summer. And his picks were Jamal Murray and Christian Braun, which is bold. And as you said, if they come to the position they have to blow it up, that probably means Jamal wasn't amazing in the playoffs. And the streets talk, and I don't think the Nuggets could get a huge return. But, it's always smart to trade with really lousy franchises where players look worse than what they actually are.
Right.
So, even something that would have looked horrible, like, I don't know, signing Russell Westbrook as a free agent might look amazing in like a month's time. So I'm not giving up on any kind of choice there. But yeah, of course, we are trying to win it all this season with the guys we have. But if I come to Denver and they lay another egg, like I'm gonna be furious. It's a long flight, and you remember that. So it's something to think about. So please, come on, Jamal, you're my guy. Like just do what you're supposed to do.
Do you think would you rather keep Christian Braun or Peyton Watson long term if the Nuggets had to choose between the 2?
Peyton Watson. And it is a kind of answer I flipped on like a week ago. I was in Christian Braun's corner firmly. I was afraid that Peyton might not be ready for this year's playoffs. And you know what? He might not be. But the upside I see in almost every game right now is so amazing. It's one of the rarest kinds of players to find, especially super late in the first round. So yeah, I think they would have to go with Peyton there.
My choice would be Peyton too. It's a tough choice. It's not easy, but they're both up for extensions after this year. I've been thinking about this. I wonder if they're going to have to choose between one of them, in terms of who they pay and who they look to move elsewhere.
I don't think they're extending both of them because, they might extend both of them with plans of trading somebody from the core four in the season maybe. After that, because those extensions would start in 26. But it's going to be difficult. But, good news is at some point, OKC is going to have start to pay their guys as well. They're not going to be able to have Chet Holmgren on like $8 million per year anymore. So at some point, they're going to have to get rid of some of their guys as well. The reason I started with this kind of dark theme for the future is I always tend to think about the roster by separating guys in three different columns. Like the first group of guys are guys who are overperforming their contract. There's a second group that's actually playing according to their contract, and there's a group of players underperforming their contract. And if you look at the Nuggets right now, let's start with the good group. Who are the guys absolutely overperforming the dollar value of their contracts right now?
Jokić.
Of course. He should be paid $200 million.
Westbrook.
Yep.
Probably Christian Braun.
Yep, I agree.
Peyton Watson.
I agree.
Strawther's getting paid so little. What is he making? $2 million?
Yeah.
You could probably put him in that category.
He's kind of in the category of being paid the way he's playing.
Yeah.
I think.
DeAndre Jordan, I don't know. That's probably about it, though.
DJ is also like in that second group. Like Strawther and DJ, you have those two guys. And then, I don't know. Can Pickett be in that group of like adequately paid guys? He's like $1.5 million per year or something like that.
I like what I've seen from Pickett.
He was really good recently.
Me and Dev were watching him on defense though last game. just watch Pickett. Just lock in on Pickett for a couple possessions defensively. It was kind of rough.
I have to be completely honest. I rewatched the game with the Houston announcers, and I sort of tapered off in the fourth quarter. Like I was out of concentration for the last 6 minutes of the game. It was really difficult for me to concentrate it. But you know what was interesting? I will never get tired of other teams' announcers saying the Joker is the best player in the world.
Yeah.
It's just so nice. I don't know for how long that's gonna last. By the way, what do you think? Is there a way for everybody? Let's say OKC Thunder wins the championship this year. Is there a path for SGA to be considered the best player in the world after that? Right away in July?
I think it will be the same kind of thing where when Luka even got to the finals, some people were like, oh, best player in the world. It's done. Final. Complete. He's the best player. He's got to be because he made it to the finals.
Yeah, but Luka kind of had the case.
I think SGA could have that same case. I think he could. Absolutely. Will he be? Of course not. But I think he'll have that same case in the same way Luka did. Do you?
For me, no. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what would the big voices start to say on national broadcasts. It's just the one thing that comforts me a bit. If the Nuggets don't win a championship, I think it's going to be Cleveland. And nobody's going to think Donovan Mitchell is the best player in the world. This is my take. I right now feel like Cleveland has the best team in the
They
league.
probably
And,
they might.
yeah, and they might have a really good playoffs. I mean, honestly, like they're gonna play in the first 2 rounds. Like they're gonna
Nobody.
have a
Yeah.
field day against everybody until the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they're probably gonna have a tough series against Boston. But I think they can outgun the Celtics for sure. We'll see. I mean, I might be wrong on that. But other than that, I just we know Tatum is probably not gonna be the best player in the world if the Celtics repeat, even after the second championship. Everybody's gonna say, yeah, but was it like?
Well, he's got to win
Brown?
Finals MVP for a team to start that conversation.
He probably needs to get that one first. Yeah, it's true. It's really true.
I just think SGA, he could put up stats similar to Luka, like because you got SGA and then the next scorer, quote unquote scorer on that team, probably Jalen Williams, and he's a few tiers below him. It's a lot different. I mean, Luka has Kyrie, but like it's really SGA, and then there's a big drop off in terms of just like who's gonna have the ball in their hands, big possessions in fourth quarter of the playoffs. So I just feel like the numbers he could put up are crazy, and I think he'll get that shine. He won't be the best player, but people will say he is.
SGA have an amazing production this season. Yes, he has a lot fewer rebounds and assists per game than Joker, but somehow, because of really good efficiency and probably because of great team success and net rating, he is actually crushing it in the advanced stats as well. This season, of course, Joker is number 1 in box plus minus, but SGA is number 2, and he's right there, like at 11.5, which is crazy high for anybody outside of Joker. So, yeah, my Miro stat that is tracking the MVP candidates right now is having SGA as a runaway favorite for the MVP. What?
Yeah. Last thing on SGA, I can't consider him MVP until I see him score on Alexa Abramovich. I can't put him in that category. I need to see it first.
You are my guy. You remember the game from 2 years ago, World Cup semifinal, Canada versus Serbia. Serbia had Bogdan Bogdanovic and had like 8 guys missing from their top 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they built the wall in the paint, and SGA couldn't score anything in the first half. So I agree with you. This is actually why I'm lower on SGA than most people. That doesn't mean I don't think he's an amazing player. It's just that like I have this little wrinkle I need to be flattened out before I say, yeah, he's the guy.
It's like when you play real basketball, not the same player. When you play the real way, when you play this NBA version, yeah, you're sick.
And everybody was thinking I was crazy for having Miroslav points for FIBA and NBA intertwined to figure out who the best Serbian player of all time was. But at the end, as you mentioned, at the end, everybody will say, "Oh, these guys had it right from the beginning. Like they were on the right side of history. They knew what they were been looking at." And you know what? I hope Joel Embiid doesn't win a championship, just because I was trashing him so hard during his whole career. If he wins at the end, I would have to say I was wrong. But luckily, that's never going to happen. I'm just doubling down on that. Harrison, thank you so much for jumping in on the show. Did you come to the office just for the show, or do you have some other things to do at the office today?
I came just for the show, man. I wanted to make sure my mic was good, make sure the camera was good. I had Emma set us up here. Did this for you, man.
Thank you so much, and have a Miller Lite on me, because I'm pretty sure you can drive after drinking Miller Lite. Just don't do like 3 of them. One is going to be enough. Okay, that is all I've prepared for you this week, my dear listener. And please, with the cherry on top, take the word prepared very loosely. Be well, be safe, be kind to everybody. Call your mom, and until next week, Justin Holiday.